Hi there. So I asked you guys to upload your efforts at this question last time, and I'll give individual feedback as it comes in. But just in case you were confused as to what was going on, I just thought I'd show you now. So we begin it being a stem and leaf by ordering the information, which should get us to something like this, where we start off not worrying about putting it in order, but just taking each one at a time, crossing it out as we go so we don't make any mistakes, and that keeps going until we get to this position here. I always double check that I've got the right number by counting out how many I've got. Now I've got 6, 7, 3 sevens are 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So that's all good. And now I order it, but I remember I must include a key. So I'm going to put the key in first. Pick any value I like. I could just pick the first one. So that means 19, doesn't it? But 19 what? 19 years old. 19 years old. And there's my key. So then all I have to do is write this out again, putting it in order, and I've got the 9 there, but first of all I've got a 0, and then there's 1 3 and 1 4 and so on, and you should end up with your 21 leaves all like this. So the single digits are here, these are the leaves, and that is the stem. That's why it's called a stem and leaf. And then if we look down at the bottom, it asks us to find the probability. One of the employees is selected at random. Find the probability that they are younger than 30. So as there's 21 of them, it's going to be something out of 21, and there's 2 marks. You get 1 mark just for having that 21. And then we need to know how many are younger than 30. So younger than 30 is all of these, isn't it? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. So that means 9 out of 21. Okay. So now we'll carry on with the rest of the lesson. Now what we're going to do over the next 2 lessons is what's called the unit test, which is a load of GCSE style questions for the topic we've been doing since the beginning of lockdown. So all about averages and frequency tables and stem and leaf diagrams, and how we find the averages from all of those. So as I said, we're going to do it over 2 lessons. So there are, I think it's 12 questions altogether. We're going to do 6 questions today, 6 questions tomorrow, and you can mark it yourself as you go and see how you go. And I'd really like you at the end of both lessons to upload to me how you've got on as a score out of however many it is, and I'll sort of put that up on tomorrow on our second lesson of the week, on Tuesday's lesson, for you to do that. Okay, that's enough of me rambling on about it. So each question, pause it, have a go. If you've printed it off, then that's great. If you're just doing it, writing it down in your book, then that's just as good. See how you go. So pause this one, have a go, and in a moment I'll talk it through, and just mark it for yourself. It's just for you, and do not worry, please, about if you get a low score, giving me a low score, that it's going to mean anything in terms of moving anyone down a set. That's not going to happen. It's just about me knowing how well you guys feel you've learnt it, so I know how much more work we'll need to do on it later on in the year or next year. Right, so here's our list of numbers. To find the median, they have to be in order, so they should be like 11, 12, 12, another 12. Notice I'm crossing them off as I go so I don't miss any. Right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 plus 1 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2 equals the 5th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. or for such a small load we could have just crossed off the smallest and the biggest until we got to there. Anyway, the answer is 13. Question 2 is 4 numbers. Pause the video and have a go. Now, since it said the mean of the 4 numbers is 6, that means that the total divided by how many, because we would add these all up, wouldn't we? And that would give us a total. And that total divided by 4, because there's 4 numbers, is giving us the mean of 6. So how many numbers? So what must that total be? Well, what number divided by 4 is 6? We can do that by doing 6 timesing the 2 numbers we do have together. So that means they must all add up to make 24. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 7 is 17. So 17 plus what makes 24? And that answer is 7. So if you got 7, you can give yourself 3 marks. If you didn't get it right, but you got 24, you can definitely get 1 mark. And if you added these up somewhere and showed that, you can have 1 mark for that too. On to the next question. Pause the video and have a go. So the first thing you need to do is put the numbers in order to find the median, which should look like this. And looking at this, because we've got 10, you've got, that's where your median point's going to be, because half of them are before it, half of them are after it. Remember, 10 plus 1 is 11. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5, so that means it comes between the 5th and the 6th. So it's between 3 and 4, halfway between 3 and 4 is 3.5 or 3.5. The range is how much the numbers range. If things range, they roam around things. A Range Rover goes over any sort of ground. That's why it's called a Range Rover. Free range eggs are eggs from chickens that can roam around where they want to, comparatively, compared to the poor factory ones that have to sit in a cage. Right, anyway, so the range is how much the numbers vary, so it's biggest take the smallest, biggest take smallest. If you just did that, you do not get all the marks for that, but you can give yourself 2 marks for each one. So if you've written 6 to 2 or 6 minus 2 or something like that, you get 1 mark. If you've got 4, that's 2 marks. And the mean, we need to add them all up and divide by how many we've got. Now I know we've got 10, 2, 4, 7, 10, 13, 17, 21, plus 10 is 31, plus 6 is 37. Divide that by 10, gives you 3.7. Right then, so question 4. Pause the video as ever, have a go, and then mark what you've done. So the range of temperatures, 30, well, I'm looking for the smallest. I think 10 is the smallest, and I'm looking for the biggest, and I think 18 is the biggest. So 18 take 10, there's 2 marks for this. If you just got that written down, that's 1 mark. If you've got 8 degrees Celsius being the amount at which the temperatures vary, that is correct. Write down the mode. Mode, think it's another 4-letter word as most. It's the one that there's the most of. So the most frequent number. So there's 1, 2, 3 13s. There's 2 14s, that's not as many. So 3 13s means that the mode is 13. And working out the mean, you need to add them all up and then divide by how many there are. Now there's 10, so we're going to be dividing by 10, and you should have got 139. So 139, if you've got that written down, that's 1 mark. Divide it by 10, gives you 13.9 degrees C. Okay, so that's question 4. moving on now to question 5. Pause the video and give this one a go. So here you should have the largest being 18, take the smallest being 5 is 13, and it's just points, isn't it? So I could put points down. It wouldn't really matter as it's not really a proper unit. You just need to have 13. Work out the median for these 6 people. Well, we need to put them in order, so it's going 5, 8, 10, 13, 15 and 18. That's 6 results, so it's going to be halfway between those two. 10 plus 13 equals 23. Divide 23 by 2. Half of 22 is 11, so it'll be 11 and a half, or 11.5. And the last question, the mean for 7 people was 12. So that means the total divided by 7 equals 12. So the total is going to equal 12 times 7, which is 84. And we can work out the total for the 6 by doing 5 plus 8 plus 10 plus 13 plus 15 plus 18. So take your time on that. And that adds up to make 69. So 69 plus 1 is 70 plus another 14 plus 15 equals 84. So the 7th person scored 15. Finally, we have question 6. Now there's part B is just off camera at the moment, so pause it, have a go as much of part A as you can first of all. And the mode, pretty clearly we've got 3 2.23s. Now they've very nicely put this all in order for us. It's a shame though that they haven't asked us for the median. Then the mean. Now it's okay to use a calculator for this if you like. These sorts of questions normally come up in a calculator paper. So you need to add them all up and divide by 10. And adding all of those up should give you 22 meters and 64. So if you stood all the heights on top of each other, that would get to 22.64. Divide that by 10 gives you 2.264 meters as the mean. So a little bit lower than the mode. And the range, well, we need to find the biggest jump, which is nice and easy because it's at one end, and the smallest jump at the other. So 2.33, take 2.19, borrow 1 from there, 9 from 13 is 4, 1 from 2 is 1. So it is just 14 centimeters in there, or 0.14 meters. Right, now the last part of this is telling you that the women's mean was 1.95 meters and the women's range was 0.18, and 2 marks to compare the heights that the men jumped with the heights that the women jumped. Now we haven't talked about this much before, but there's always 1 mark for comparing the mean or whatever average you've got. Sometimes it might be a median in a question, and there's 1 mark for comparing the range. So pause the video and have a go at doing that. Whatever you do, don't leave something like this blank. Give it a go. And there's a lot of there are a lot of different ways that you can write it that would still get you the mark. So the women's average height is 1.19, whereas the men's was 2.264. So I'm just going to very quickly take that from that. 9 from 12 is 3. So I could say on average the men jumped 0.314 meters higher than the women, and that would get me 1 mark. But if I'd just written that the men jumped higher on average than the women, that would have got me the mark. Or that the men's mean was higher. I've written the mean, haven't I? I should have written the men. Then that would have been okay. And then the range. So I need to write something about the range. So the men's range was slightly smaller, but you need to say what that means. Meaning, and it just means that it doesn't mean that they've done worse. It means that they are, that their results are closer together. Meaning, they were. There's a really good word that we can use to say that just in one go. More consistent. So you might hear that a lot, especially if you're in sport. They're always talking about consistency. For years and years, Tottenham were always called, the problem with being a Tottenham supporter was they'd play brilliant one day, but then they'd be inconsistent. And this year, or recently, a lot of the time it's been like Manchester United, a team like that. They'll play brilliantly one day, but not the next. And in order to win the league, you need to be consistent and sort of win more games than other people do, but have less bad days. And instead of losing those games when you don't play so well, somehow grind out a win or a draw. Anyway, I'm wittering on. That's it for today. We will carry on with the rest of the test next lesson. So cheerio, everybody.